call the meeting to order. We'll do the pledge in a moment of silence, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll do a roll call. Douglas is here, Louis is here, and Bob is not here. Next item is public comment. Anybody have anything they want to say? How about you, John? No? Okay. We'll close that portion. We'll get into administrative business. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Smith, if I might, I'd like to introduce Mr. Mike Schultz. Mike, can you come on up? Mike, just have a seat. Mike recently began service as a deputy county councilor. He's got extensive experience in matters of municipal government and law. And I look forward to working with him. We've already begun to work with him. Mark and I interviewed him. We'd like to favorably endorse him to you. And if you haven't met him already, he will be around to do service for the citizens of Leavenworth County.
Thank you. Okay. Nice meeting you, Mike.
Well, promise made, promise kept. That's a personal thing, isn't it, Mike? Okay. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Now everybody wonders what that was about.
We have no other administrative business.
No other administrative business. Okay. And we'll get to the consent agenda. Approval of the minutes. Do you have any questions on the minutes, Doug?
No, sir.
I'll just highlight one thing, and it was Jeff Joseph, and that was about the county master plan. Without sewer, there can be no plan. And without sewer, there can be no plan. Sewer is the kicker. So I'm going to personally be looking for, where do you start the sewer line? Up north of Easton? You start at Linwood. Do we have multiple sewage plants up and down the Stranger Creek for that portion of the valley? Leavenworth can handle some. Easton or Lansing probably can't. They may handle a little bit after expansion, but we may have to have several plants up and down somewhere to handle sewage if we want to progress. That is the kicker. There's a lot of people out there that don't want any progress, which is all right with me. I've got running water. I do not have a sewer, though. I have septic where I live. So, but it'll carry me my next 20 years to 101, and it won't matter. So that's the only thing I had on the minutes that we need to emphasize, that without sewers, and we need to be going to the communities and see how we can do this, because roads and all the rest of it, that's unimportant. Sewage is important. We know it flows downhill. That's always the approval of the schedule for the week. Do you have any problems with that?
No, sir.
Or who's attending the Friday 11:45 Leavenworth Lansing Chamber meeting?
I believe that's the chairman's responsibility.
Yeah, and I passed it on because I don't
On my schedule.
You'll go? Thank you. I don't need to go to meetings. Okay, the next will be the check register. Any questions?
No, sir.
Okay, McIntyre Road, $18,000. 147th, another $7,000. McIntyre easements, that's another 20, I don't know what it was, 33,000. Yeah, 33,000. Still, have we found out who put McIntyre on the agenda to be done?
No. Nobody can find
How
any
can government
documentation.
do something and nobody have a record of it? Am I lost? That's what I know. I keep track of checkbook and minutes and calendars that I kept. Nobody can find out the answer. That is amazing. Next item is...
I had one question, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Chairman. Shawnee Mission Ford.
Yeah, good. I got a question on that. Go ahead.
The Shawnee Mission Ford on the 2016 F-150s.
The sheriff purchased some vehicles for Shawnee Mission.
Okay.
Were these four-wheel drive? What are they? Anybody know? There were three different figures, and it was 10,000 added to 24,000, what it came to. So it came out to 34,829 for these half tons. Are they doing garden plots and they need trucks to haul their goods to the? What are we doing with half-ton trucks? 3 of them for the sheriff. Anybody know?
Those were budgeted items.
Half-ton trucks or just vehicles?
Those were budgeted items for the
Well,
sheriff's department.
See, here we go. We're back into that subject again.
Well, I'm not questioning the sheriff. I'm just questioning, we have a Ford dealership in our county that pays taxes in our county. I don't know whether this was a state contract purchase.
Shawnee Mission Ford has the state contract for that vehicle.
Here we go.
We always, Public Works used to always just go to the local Ford dealership and present the state contract, and
We have purchased several vehicles this year with that approach. I think.
I just don't like to see money going out of our county when we have a Ford dealership in our county, paying taxes in our county, going somewhere else. But
I just like to broaden my knowledge. I don't know what business the sheriff's getting into with half-ton trucks. So
I just like to buy local. That's my only thing.
well, I agree with that, and I'm sure our dealer could get the same thing. But the school districts, a lot of people do that. They go buy through the state, and I don't like that. State doesn't pay us a cent. They take out 1.5 mils from our evaluation, and they take it to Topeka. Every county pays 1.5 mils, and I'd love to know what that figure is today, because it's in the hundreds of millions. That's a lot of money for them to maybe pass it back to us, and they get this great favor feeling of rather than an accomplishment.
Usually, though, with our purchasing policy, with our 5% preference, gives local.
Yeah, but nobody bid it, did they? No,
I don't know. Well, you don't have to bid a state contract.
Well, I understand
Yeah.
that aspect.
Right.
I'll go
That's
around.
why we should bid it.
I'll go around the block again, and I can gain all that knowledge.
All right.
But so the half-ton Fords. Thank you for not being here, Bob, because you just helped me out. Leavenworth Asphalt Materials, 84,000. That's good. That's local. I like that. And another Vance Brothers, 90,000 for
Road oil.
road work. So.
Road oil.
So, and there is no OCBs. Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I want to know where the half tons are going to be used. This is not a game anymore. If I can't get anybody to agree with me that the sheriff's extra money needs to be pulled back and somebody's living in a different world than I'm living in, I do not appreciate the fact that half-ton pickup. I know what I bought mine for. So if he can come across with an explanation of what they're for, why he needed pickups, maybe it's to pick up all the animals for animal control. I don't know, but it'd be nice to know. So I'm not going to vote for that portion of it. In fact, I'll tell you what, I'll second the motion with removal of the check register. Now, I want to check a little further. Can just that portion be removed? Because it'd be nice to get everybody else approved.
Any item can be pulled from the consent agenda and handled individually.
Thank you.
So if you want to pull the check register out of the consent agenda.
I would like to do that. You go along with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then we'll vote on approval of everything except pulling the sheriff's portion of the check register. How do you vote?
So the first
Yes,
thing
sir.
would be to go ahead and approve the rest of the consent agenda.
Yes.
You pulled the check register out completely. Now you would need to approve the consent agenda.
Okay.
So that would be the minutes and the schedule for next week. So you need to approve that first, and then we can address the check register separately.
We're not pulling the whole check register, though.
That's how you would have to handle it since it's part of a consent agenda. You'd have to pull.
That's
the
how I have
register,
to?
And then, yes, sir, that is the correct procedure.
Okay. I'll go along with have to.
A lot of people not going to get paid when we do this, so.
Well, he said we can put the check register back in with the removal. So we're doing two different votes here. Is that
First do the minutes and the schedule.
Yeah.
We can get those approved, and then we can come back to the check register and we can address the item that you want.
Okay.
And I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve the approval of the minutes, the schedule for August 20th.
Second. How do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. So now we need a motion for the approval of the check register minus the checks.
Minus the payment to Shawnee Mission Ford.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve the check registry, excluding the payment to Shawnee Mission Ford.
I'll second that. How do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. And I think Shawnee Mission Ford had 20-day limit on them where we had to approve or something. I thought that was interesting because I had all this Shawnee Mission Ford stuff here. Because that was definitely a question.
Well, my concern's not with the sheriff purchasing vehicles. I just think they should be purchased in our county.
I'll second that portion. I agree with that, but I'm also interested, and it's not micromanaging. Somebody may think it's micromanaging. I'm thinking it's time still to get the sheriff's budget under control, and it seems nobody wants to do that, and you can get a portion of it under control. If the people out there do not mind, and that's you people out there, if you don't mind how the sheriff is spending your money, then you let me know. It boils down to, what was it, $370 for his family salaries, and now we got three half-ton pickups. I want to know what the coloring is on the side, maybe. I don't know. What's a sheriff use a half-ton pickup for? So, okay. Say again?
Call him and ask.
No, he can let me know. I think that I'm as high on the totem pole as he is. It's just that I can't control his budget once I approve it. He can let me know if he wants to let me know. Or the 3 half-tons will fall short because it had to be in 20 days and I don't know how many it's been. Okay. The next item would be Formal board action. Anything formally?
We have the approval of the 2019 budget.
Yes? Is there going to be a presentation? Because I got a lot of questions.
We have to have a public hearing.
Well, it says here, formal board action, consider a motion to approve the 2019 Leavenworth County budget. Doesn't say open meeting.
Wouldn't there have to be a public hearing before we approve it?
I don't know. Wasn't on,
Yes.
it isn't on the agenda. That's what needs to be on the agenda so we don't fuddle around. Tells us what to do, when to do it, what time to do it, and all that. So you want to have an open meeting? We
Yes.
need. Okay, very
We have
good.
to open and close a public hearing on it.
Okay. We will have a open meeting on the 2019 Leavenworth County budget. It's an open meeting. Anybody want to come up and discuss the budget? I don't know how they could. Has anybody gotten the budget? It's a heck of a deal. So how can anybody come from the audience if they haven't read the budget? It's very hard.
Well, it was attached to the packet that went out.
Yes, I understand that. Now, I could have come up with my conversation first, and maybe they would have had a lot of questions, but nobody has any comments? We'll close the open meeting to maybe open it later. Do you have any questions on the budget, Doug?
No, sir.
Well, I do.
Are you ready for a motion to approve the budget?
Yeah, and then I'll second it, and we can have discussion.
Okay. I'll make a motion, we approve the 2019 budget as presented.
Second that. Now, page 1. Now, do we have to have two different questions? We have the budget, and then we have Leavenworth Special Funds. Does it have to be done separately?
Motions.
There you go. We'll come to the other one a little bit later. I had written on top of, we need to borrow more money, I guess, before we can do what, roads or something at the end. So, but there's a lot of pages here that to me don't amount to anything. I still wanted to see a sheet, and I think the average person would want to see a sheet that says 2017, it was $1. 2018, it was $2. The budget we're talking about.
Yeah.
2019, rather than me,
Page 19,
page 19.
it's
Yep.
labeled page number 19. It's actually like page 33 because the state's software does a 1A,
Yes.
2A, 3A. It's labeled page number 19. It does have that information. That's also what the notice of public hearing that goes into the paper has that same information.
That is true.
And I think that you had asked earlier the amount of increase. The amount of ad valorem tax increase is approximately $1.2 million, which represents a 5% increase in ad valorem taxes. Overall expenditures were down 2% because there are some expenditures that were reduced in funds that we don't levy for.
I went through the whole thing. Didn't we pull gasoline?
Gasoline was put into the courthouse general fund so that all gas expenditures will be made.
Thank you. So I'll hit with the first page. And this is why it's nice to have figures that you can understand. Capital Improvement Reserve, 2017, $380,000. 2018, $165,000. I like that trend. 2019, $165,000. You don't have to answer these questions because we'll be here all day. It went from 380 in 2017 to 165,000 in 2019. That was General Capital Improvement Reserve. Road and Bridge Capital Improvement Reserve, $800,000 in 2017, nothing in 18 or 19. Bond and interest, $2,867,000 in 17, nothing in 18 and 19. Capital project sales tax went from $527,000 to $1,751,000. That's why there has to be some simplicity to what a person can come in and ask for a piece of paper that shows the increases, and that gets into this. There's one area back here where it talks about each one of the departments. That way the average person can come in and look at it and say, can I put in a request and pay his, how much is it per sheet when you request data from the county now? 25 cents. There may be 50 sheets that somebody would want because it brought forth some ideas. You know, a statement of indebtedness. 2018 shows the interest. $638,000. And out of that, the principal was $885,000. Isn't that weird? That's a lot of money for interest. Of course, there's a lot of people out there that want us to go out and borrow the whole 97 point something million that we can borrow. But there is some logic to paying as you go. At least that's what a businessman would think. In 2019, it's $611,000 and 1.1 million. So it's still over half. I see figures that go through, and for this year, 2017, it was $450,000, and then it's $450,000, and then it's $450,000. There's no logic to that. Somewhere there has to be a change in a budget. I'm looking at a figure here that says delinquent tax $169,000. I'm rounding these off, and nothing in 18, nothing in 19, and I imagine that's because of the tax sale. That's just me throwing in a thought process, and that was page number 7. Just a thought process, because we didn't have a tax sale this year, and maybe we're not going to have one next year. Interest income. Now, this is the one that really interested me, because I'm sure not getting this on my money. Can I put my money with the county and get this kind of? It was $147,000. Excuse me. Yeah, let's call it $148,000 in 2017, $178,811 in 2018, and 2019 is going to be $434,000. Now I like that. I like those figures. It wasn't like it was in 1992, 3, 4, 5, and 6 in those days when we were getting 17, 18, 20% on our money. ROD, wonderful department. Bringing in $554,000 in 17, $725,000 in 18, and $750,000 in 19. But, and I think something legislatively happened on mortgage registration fees. $465,000 in 2017, $275,000 in 18, but no mortgage fees in 19. But I think that was something the legislature did. Nice group of people over there, you know. So we don't get any mortgage. So somebody benefited, right? I think it's somebody that sells and moves houses. But sheriff's fees. Now, what would a sheriff fee be? It wouldn't be a traffic ticket, a speeding ticket, because that stuff all goes to the state. So what would in case anybody didn't know that, all money that goes from traffic tickets that go to district court go to the state, no matter what the sheriff gives a ticket for. It all goes to the state. Doesn't come to us. It's not like the police department. All their funds go to the city. But it's a thing where the state did this with the courts and we did this, and it's a real interesting game. But 2017, $8,100. Now, if that's just tickets, let's divide $8,100 by 365 and see what kind of tickets he's handing out on an average. And then it was $8,000 in 2018, $8,000 in 2019. I always figured the police department and sheriff department ought to be collecting enough money to pay for the department. Sheriff in 2017 was $6.6 million. Then it went to $7.2 million in 2018, and then it went to $7.6 million. So from 17 to 19, it's gone up $1 million. That's pretty good. Take $1 million, and it was $6 million. That's a pretty good percentage of increase. Noxious weed went from 422,000 up to 417,563,000. Risk management, 6,000 in 17, 10,000, 10,500 in 18, and the same figure for 19. What is appropriations? I would like to have that answered. Can somebody tell me what appropriations on?
Those are the outside agencies that come in and ask for funding from the board, and are approved
Okay.
in the budget process.
That aren't required by law, but it's just, are some of them required by law, or?
They're not required by law.
Yeah.
Board-
Was 737,000 outside agencies in 2017. 2018 was 880,000. 2019 was 1,100,000 outside agencies. Not something that the county runs. I think it's very interesting how much money we spend outside, and yet the schools rejected the mental health people who came in and asked for 2 mills, and that's $1,350,000. Now that would have been, so we would go up now to $2 million if we had approved that. $2.5 million. Outside agencies, because the schools do not want to pay for the mental health for the kids in their school districts. And the 1.3 million was way over what they needed. They said they needed 830 some thousand, but the extra money they got for the 2 mills, they would just be able to do anything that came along. When you get into pages, well, the page numbers really dropped. It says 7B. That's where it gets into the pretty logical sheet where it talks about county commission, salaries, contractual, commodities, and capital outlay. And you see what the total figure is. Clerk is next, treasurer is next, register of deeds, goes on down the line, planning and zoning, emergency medical, sheriff, county counselor. And those are nice because it compares what they are spending, and I'm not going to bore you with what it is. Court-ordered payments, I'll bore you with that. And this was general fund detailed expenditures. County attorney was $94,500 for 2017, and in 18 and 19 it's $75,500 and $500 both years. I'll tell you what, the old man in the Navy wouldn't allow this kind of report coming from any of his people. There'd be some lieutenants and lieutenant commanders that weren't getting promoted. Emergency management. Have we closed that down in 2019?
Well, emergency management is
Right.
under the sheriff.
But somebody coming in wouldn't know that. And there's no budget. So it's under the sheriff's budget now. So I imagine it's 155,000 to 200,000, because in 2018 it was 155,000. Courthouse general, but you're able to compare the figures of what's being spent. GIS did a very good job. Road and bridge reserve available. But it's still nice to have these figures, other than the sheet that you were talking about, Mr. Administrator. That's the sheet we publish in the paper. And it's one of the last sheets, good, bad, or indifferent. And that's the sheet you can get out of the paper, where it talks about evaluations. Assessed evaluation in 2017 was, and I'm rounding these figures, 615 million. In 18 was 637 million. And this next year will be 674 million. I do not think that means anything to anybody in the outside world. This is a complicated position up here. And when you don't know somebody, you have somebody you can go to. You go to that department head and they will answer that question. I haven't made up my mind what I'm going to do on that, but I would hope the next people coming in would have a good presentation to where they can understand the budget. Because the first year, they're not going to understand it. I don't care what school you've gone to and what your background is. It's going to be very difficult. I've done this now for 9 years, off and on, and it's very difficult. So, thank God we have some good department heads. We have established good policies. Hopefully nobody's going to come in and want to start to micromanaging again, because that's what happened in the past. You don't micromanage. You set policies, and the gentleman over here makes sure the department head does their policies correctly. Anybody know that Johnson County spent $10 million on voting machines? Yeah, the write-in ballot. You can just go all over the country and look at what Montana did. No problems. Write-in ballots. Well, you're going to have all this fraud. And I know that doesn't have anything to do with the budget, but it would make the budget a lot simpler in a lot of ways. So there was a motion and a second to approve the budget. Thank you, Bob, for not being here. Because I think a lot of times we blindly do things because it's procedure. Three half-ton pickups. We still have $250,000 sitting in his budget that he can do anything he wants with it. Does anybody not understand that? Once we approve the budget for the elected officials, they can do anything they want. We have no say-so over it. That's a good idea, isn't it? And then we get the phone calls. So So, can we go ahead and can we move the budget approval of it, leave the motion where it is, and move it till after we do the canvassing?
Commissioner, procedurally, that would be to table the matter till later this morning.
Okay, that's what
Take
I
a
would like
motion
to
and a
do.
second to table.
That gives me time while we're canvassing. My mind, believe it or not, I have a great capability of doing a lot of things at the same time. So I would like to do that, and we'll come back to that, and we'll take care of the canvassing, because we got a lot of people not interested in the budget. We got 70-some thousand people. Is that a problem with you?
No, sir.
Okay, why don't we do that? So.
Make a motion to table this
till
approval of the budget till after the canvassing.
Yeah, to after
That's my
canvassing.
motion.
Okay, I'll second it. How you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
While we're back on, before we adjourn to that, I'd like to make a motion to go ahead and approve the payment to Shawnee Mission Ford because the sheriff followed the purchasing policy. Exactly what our purchasing policy says. I don't agree with buying vehicles out of the county, but we have a policy. It was followed. The vehicles were purchased. I think they should be paid for.
You want a second, and I'll second it. Every motion deserves a second.
Okay.
Under discussion.
Like I said, we have a purchasing policy. It was followed. I'm assuming Mr. Lawfrey was involved with this. And the purchasing policy was followed. He followed policy. He did. I just don't agree with buying vehicles out of the county, but if the purchasing policy was followed, we need to pay the bill.
Okay? You don't care what they're used for.
I don't. The sheriff is elected.
Okay?
He answers to the people.
Well, the people don't care, so.
Well-
How do you vote?
Aye.
Nay. Okay. And then we'll get on to the, and we also have the special other funds that we'll do at the same time.
Okay. So you ready for a motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourned, yes, sir.
I'll make a motion we adjourn.
I'll second. How you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
I'd make a motion to convene as the Board of County Canvassers. And part of my motion would also be to appoint Clyde Graber as to the Board of Canvassers in the absence of Commissioner Robert Holland.
I'll second that. Any discussion?
No, sir.
Is that all right with you, Mr. Graber? Thank you, Clyde. Appreciate it. How do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Now, can we sit up here, or do we need to come down? Clyde, if you would come up here, please. And did you want to sit here? I'd like to see you sitting where it says chairman.
Thank you for offering your services today, Mr. Graber.
I was a friend.
Now, have you got his check prepared? Because it's going to be big money, Clyde.
This isn't a non-paying job.
A painting. So, that's good. Got Clyde's picture back in there.
Yeah.
That should be front page. Okay. Motion has been made. Consider motion to accept the votes from the August 7th, 2018 primary election.
On August 7th, Leavenworth County had the 2018 primary election. Our polls opened at 7 a.m. and closed at 7 p.m. We have 3 different processes to go through today. The first is we're going to look at the number of ballots that were cast on Election Day, along with the advance ballots that were cast. Leavenworth County has 43 precincts, which we have combined into 26 polling places plus advance. Each one of the polling places were open on Election Day. Each one had a poll book and the election equipment, and each one balanced. I have a spreadsheet that is certainly available to look at the number of votes that were cast by Democrat and Republican on Election Day. Synopsis of that would be that we balanced 1,980 advance ballots, which included voters that either came into the courthouse and voted, went to the Basser Community Library and voted, or received a ballot by mail and returned that ballot. Once again, that was 1,980. On Election Day, we had 9,522 voters that went to the 26 polling places, which once again contain the 43 precincts that Leavenworth County has. In addition to the votes that were counted as far as the advance in the Election Day, the new statute requires the county election offices across the state of Kansas to look at ballots that are either hand-delivered to the polling places on Election Day and the ballots that are received on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday after the election closes. Each one of Leavenworth County's ballots that were received after Election Day are postmarked August 7th. We had 65 ballots returned or delivered after the election that are all clearly marked August 7th. We had 11 ballots that were hand-carried to the polls, and those are specifically marked hand-carried so that we could differentiate between those that were either postmarked or delivered. So in count, we had 76 ballots that are added to the totals for Leavenworth County, which gave us 11,578 votes that have now been counted into the unofficial results of the Leavenworth County election. We do have in question today provisional ballots, which we will go over in a few minutes. I also have a spreadsheet that is available to you and the public for the reasons that we recommend qualified and the reasons we do not recommend qualified. Each one of these stacks that I have noted the KSA that permits me to recommend or not recommend the provisional ballots that we will look at today. The other item, our third item that we're going to look at is the write-ins that were counted on Election Day. If someone did not file for a position that was available through this election, there was a blank line. And we were able, the voters of Leavenworth County were able to write a name in. And I do have some folks that will either be considered elected to that position or will be nominated and move on to the general election. So at this time, I'm going to go over those. We had write-ins for township clerk. It was a position that was also filed by party, but I had we had 4 townships that no one filed for the clerk in that position, but yet there were enough votes received that will move that person on to nominate that person to be moved to the general election. 3 votes were required to nominate the person for the township clerk positions. Each one of these individuals have been notified and they have accepted the nomination to move on to the general election. So we have Alexandria Township, which is the Springdale precinct, and Mike Tullis received 15 votes. He is a Republican, and he received 15 Republican votes. He also received some Democrat votes, but those would not be tallied in since he is a Republican candidate. Our next township is Reno Township. Carrie Putoff received 3 votes, of which were qualified, so he will be nominated for the general election and will appear on the ballot in November. Our 4th one is Sherman Township. Christy Bryce received 12 votes and has accepted and will be moving on to the general election. Our 4th township is Tonganoxie. Tonganoxie, Donald Kirby received 8 write-in votes and has accepted to be moved to the general election. So as part of our canvass today, we will also certify these write-in votes for the township office position. Our next write-in that we need to discuss today would be...
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Chairman, when you say that this individual received 8 votes, are those votes Republican votes or Democrat votes? They indicate that?
Those votes, we did look at that. Those votes are in correspondence to the party of the individual that was nominated.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, thank you, Clyde. So there were no Democratic? That was my question.
Yeah.
None that qualified him.
No.
Amazing. Huh. Very good. Thank you.
The next write-in positions that we're going to look at are precinct committee man and committee woman. These positions are elected in the August primaries. There is not this position open in the November general. All the election takes place in August. We had a precinct man or woman must receive 5 votes in order to be elected to the position of committee man or committee woman. We had 2 individuals that did receive enough write-ins to be elected to that position. We have contacted these individuals and they have agreed to serve. Our first is the 4th Precinct, 5th Ward. It is a Republican precinct committee woman, Diana Powell. She did receive 5 votes. Our second is the 5th Precinct, 6th Ward. This is precinct committee woman, Becky Kellogg, and she received 7 votes. So that will conclude the write-in portion unless there's any questions for the canvass.
None here.
No, sir.
You're rolling good.
Today, At this time, we will look at the provisional ballots, the reasons that I have noted, and if you have any questions, we will certainly go over there. It's not my plan to look at each provisional. I have divided the stacks according to the recommendation or of either being qualified or not qualifying them. I will hand each of you a spreadsheet which does talk about the numbers.
Thank you.
These provisional ballots are divided by polling place as to the number that were received on Election Day. I do have a couple that were received after the election that we will also discuss. So the first, I think we will first begin with the not qualified. I have well, first of all, excuse me, we've had 209 provisional ballots that the county election office reviewed. We reviewed them through our election software that we have. We review each one of these provisionals individually. We look at the voter intent. We follow the KSAs that are required on our part. So each one is specifically looked at. And I think that is very important to note. So we had 209 provisionals that the Leavenworth County Election Office looked at. We had 110 which we would recommend not qualified. But it is entirely up to the Board of Canvassers to make the official decision in your capacity today. The first one we'll look at is a group, I have 65. This group of voters on their provisional ballot either changed party on Election Day or did not declare a party when they voted provisional. The majority of these are a voter that came in that we recorded as either Democrat or Republican, and they wanted to vote a different ballot style. We also have, I think, 3 in that pile that went in, they were unaffiliated, but they would not declare a party. And part of the law is that a party has to be declared at the time of a primary election. They sign a voter registration card, mark the appropriate party on the card. They also sign an affirmation declaring the party that they want to vote that ballot for. Every voter has the opportunity, once the election is passed, to contact our office or come into the office to either change back to unaffiliated or change their respective party. So I have 65 that I recommend not qualified due to that reason. I have 45 that I recommend not qualified for the reason that they were not previously registered in Leavenworth County. Part of the statute on that is KSA 25-215, which states that if a voter is not previously registered in their associated county and wishes to vote on election day, that it would not be recommended by the clerk's office to qualify that elector. So I did have 45 of those. What happens with a provisional ballot is at that time they fill out the voter registration card, and we then register that voter for the next election. So that voter will now be registered in Leavenworth County.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to ask a question.
Yes.
Now, does that disqualify them on a state election?
They must be previously registered in Leavenworth County.
Okay.
So, yes, it would. Do you have any questions on those? Those were the reasons that we had for not qualifying. Once again, that is 110 ballots.
Well, I thought it was interesting. 11 churches we still vote in. That's good. 2 schools, and we know the reason for the schools. Security. Pretty soon there will be no schools, which is probably one of the bad things about security. And maybe the kids don't care. But I would always wonder why are all these more mature people hanging around here? What are they doing, you know? Oh, they're voting. And of course, the parents have talked to them about that, you know, I guess. The other question is, would you have as many provisionals if it was a mail-in ballot? Or have we researched what Montana, which is all mail-in, and other entities?
In a mail ballot election, only the voters that are registered in the county would receive a ballot.
Okay.
No one would receive a ballot that was not registered.
Okay.
There is still an opportunity for that voter to come in, but you know, for that reason.
Yeah.
Also, if this was a mail ballot, that voter would have had to have been affiliated and would have received the ballot that they.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Those are the only questions. There really weren't questions. I just like to present the fact of how many problems there are that wouldn't be there if the state allowed each county to make that decision. Now, that was the state would allow each county to maybe have a vote on it or whatever. So, okay.
Thank you.
Yep, that's it.
All right. The next set of provisional ballots that we're going to go through are the qualified.
Or the what?
The qualified. What I
Okay.
would recommend qualified
Okay.
For this election. We have 5 different reasons here. The first of which is a resident change within the county. I had 45 registered voters that moved. They were previously registered in Leavenworth County, and that's the important item to note. They were previously registered. They did go to the correct polling site, vote the correct ballot, and so I would recommend them being qualified, and this is according to KSA-2316C. So I do recommend those to be qualified. Our next set is the unaffiliated voter. I had 30 voters that went to the polling places. They were unaffiliated. They affiliated with their respective party and voted. Now, this did not have to be a provisional. It was just normally an unaffiliated voter could go into any polling place, affiliate with the party, and vote. But there was some confusion at a couple of the polling places that they had the voter vote provisional. So each one of these voters, they were registered unaffiliated. They then signed an affirmation, filled out a voter registration card, and affiliated with the respective party that they wished and voted. And I have 30 of those ballots. The next I have is a clerical or name change. I have 11 of these. The scenario on that would be if someone changed their name. Maybe I got married, did not get re-registered under my married name, went to the polling place. I was previously registered, so I was able to vote a provisional ballot, and I would recommend that qualify. A couple of the clerical that we have here that I noted is we had a couple of birthdays wrong. We misread the voter registration card. It is the same person. We did review that. So I would recommend those also be qualified. I'm sorry. I have 2. Advance voting begins 20 days prior to an election. If a voter applies for an advance ballot through an application, the voter is then sent a ballot. I had 2, I'm sorry. I had 2 voters that went to the polling place that did not receive their advance ballot in the mail, and so they voted a provisional. It is required that they vote a provisional because once that comes back, we can verify that that voter did not return their advance ballot. These advance ballots were not returned, and so I do recommend those 2 ballots be qualified. Our last reason for qualification are these 2 ballots. These 2 ballots went to the Douglas County Clerk's office. They are postmarked August 7th, but they were delivered to, as I say, the Douglas County Clerk's office. That election office there in turn mailed the ballots to me, and I have the envelope here, along with a note that these were hand-delivered by our postman Friday afternoon, not realizing they needed to be delivered to Leavenworth County. These 2 voters are Leavenworth County residents, Leavenworth County voters. So I do, and they are clearly marked August 7th, I do recommend qualification of these 2 ballots. Does anybody have a question on that? This would probably be the most unusual scenario that we have not had in the past. Each one of these reasons and explanations that I have given, we have discussed each one of our prior canvasses. But this one I thought I should bring up and mention to you.
No questions?
No, sir.
Clyde?
Right.
Go ahead.
At this time, my intention would be to, if you believe that I have made the right recommendation on the qualified provisional ballots, it would be my recommendation that we take these ballots downstairs, open them. We can open them here if you want to, but I will take them down. I have a board downstairs that will open these. We will run them through our DS200 scanner. I will come back up with the certified votes, including the recommended, and we will certify the official results of the Leavenworth County primary election at that time.
Well, there's a motion that you want at this time, right?
To
what?
certify what I have thus said with allowing me to open these provisional ballots that I have recommended.
Okay.
Chairman, again, just one of my stupid questions. The recommended not qualified, what happens to those?
They're not open, they're sealed. They are then stored with the ballots that were voted on Election Day. We have a 22-month period of time that the ballots are placed in a secure area. Everything is kept secured. Due to the nature of this election, with one of our state candidates, I have everything secured. There is an opportunity for a recount, there's an opportunity for litigation, and that's why we will store those ballots as you see them now in case any further question is put upon us in the future.
On a recount, are they then opened?
They will not be opened. The Board of Canvassers makes the decision on whether or not those are qualified or not. You, as the Board of Canvassers, have that authority for Leavenworth County.
Okay.
The only reason I bring that up, there are 110 ballots that are not qualified. In this very close election, that whole election could be in that one pile of ballots.
But since we have such a professional staff.
Oh, the last thing I'd ever do is question the way that we're operating. I think it's right. I'm just saying that's just something hanging out there that we need to realize.
Right. Are you going to ask your stupid question now?
I've done it, sir.
No, that was not stupid.
Oh, okay.
I realize that, Commissioner Graber, and a lot of due diligence was placed on looking at each one of these. I have worked with election and been the county election officer for a lot of years now. And not only were these looked at once, they were looked at 2 and 3 times.
Right. How long will this take you?
I can be back up here in less than a half an hour.
How many, we have 2 people, 3, 4, how many people are interested in going down and participating in this? Anybody? So we have 3 people? Okay. I'm just wondering, in a half hour we can, I don't want to bounce back and forth, but are any of you 3 interested in the budget? Always. Always? Well, I can tell you how it's going to go, then you don't have to be interested.
It probably won't.
I'm going to move the sheriff's budget out to be approved at a later date when Bob's here, because, and then it will be
Well-
approved, so.
In serving as the Board of Canvassers, do I have your,
We'll do a motion
I'll
to
make a
approve.
motion.
Yeah, I'll second it, to approve your,
I'll make a motion to accept the votes from the August 7th, 2018 primary elections as recommended by the county election officer.
second it? Or did you, oh, no. Did you want to second that?
The clerk is taking a number of ballots downstairs to count
that's right,
them.
to count them. And so what Doug did was go ahead and approve me to open the ballots that I have deemed qualified.
Yep.
Then I will bring back up the official totals, and at that time, you will certify.
I removed
that
my
election.
second.
Well, I just thought that the motion was too broad.
It is.
With this pending.
You're absolutely correct, and that's why we appointed you.
I wanted to prove to you I'm still a pain
I know
in the
you're,
back of the
that's
leg.
why you're here, and I agree with you. I agree with you. I'll rescind my motion and I'll make another one. I will make the motion to accept the provisional ballots that the county election officer has presented to be opened.
Second.
Been moved and second. Any discussion? How do you vote?
Aye,
Aye.
Aye.
and thank you, Clyde.
Now, can we jump back and forth, or what?
We have to, a motion to adjourn the, as Board of County Canvassers.
Well, yeah, but she's coming back.
We'll have to reconvene, I guess.
Yeah. So I'll accept that motion. And.
Second.
Been moved and second. How you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Now, can we reopen our, and get, yes, ma'am? And you didn't identify who the very important person was that was your assistant.
Are you going to discuss the budget?
You're going now back to the budget.
Yes.
Back up to the
And then we'll call you for it, because we want
I
you to
will.
earn that whole paycheck, Clyde.
Thank you, sir.
What do I need to do? Just call the second session of the August 14th meeting. So that's what I will do. I will call the, I'll call the August 14th session back in session so we can complete the budget. So, the other thing I didn't bring out about the budget was the Linwood thing. And I meant to bring that up. I know we basically approved that, but that's a pretty heavy event. And is this going to create problems, according to staff, in the future that, you know, somebody's going to run $90,000 to, that was a heck of a sum of money. So,
Yeah, and I believe we are opening up a council on aging site in that building.
yeah.
So there
So-
is some benefit to it.
Yeah, so that was just a thought from staff. Do you see that as a situation, or it's just something we can do and everybody will be happy?
Well, all the appropriations are considered one-time appropriations, so obviously each year as those groups come in and make presentations to the board as part of the budget, they can be approved or denied at any time. I don't think it sets a precedence that we have to be concerned about.
So Linwood should be very happy.
They
I
are.
believe they are very happy.
They
Very
are
good.
very happy
Well,
and appreciative.
so we will get a letter, because I got one here from the Leavenworth County Historical Society. They would like for us, and I would like for Linwood to do that. And that won't be done till after I'm gone, but I'd still like to receive an invite down to see how it finishes up. Same way with the windows on the church. that we okayed. It'd be nice to be able to see those things.
The Linwood Lions Club hosts lots of dinners down there.
No,
I
this,
attended.
no, that's special invite. I don't care about dinners. I don't need any more dinners.
Well, I don't either, but
Yeah.
there you go.
I didn't want to mention that, but. So, let's get back to the budget and the few items I got after the budget. So, we can either remove the sheriff and approve the rest of the budget, or the budget won't get approved. So what's the thoughts on that, staff?
Yeah, I think you have to approve the budget as presented or table it to next week for Commissioner Holland's return. I don't think we can remove one portion of it and be in compliance.
I don't think that's right. I hate to disagree with you. Staff, what is legal?
Commissioner, I think your budget needs to be approved as a package. I think it would be appropriate if you have questions regarding any singular component that the matter be tabled until such time as you either wish to reconvene to study that. There are time constraints, so I would recommend if you continue this matter, that it be continued no later than to next Tuesday.
Well, I know there's time restraints. There's that on.
Would that require another hearing?
Commissioners, I think what you would do is adjourn the budget hearing to such later time as you state, and then reconvene at that time and place.
So we'd have to run another notice that we're having a...
No, I think your declaration on the public record in this room would suffice.
Well, we did actually hold a hearing and no one spoke.
Doesn't mean we're not in.
So what does that, what does that mean, ma'am?
Listening.
Just listen.
Oh, okay.
Interested, but nothing to
Okay.
Okay. That'd be hard for me to do.
And we are still able to lower a quarter of a mil.
Yes, the budget as presented was a direct compliance with the goal set by the board of lowering it by the mill levy by 1/4 mil. It is the same budget that was presented during the work sessions and discussed by the board, and then subsequently the same budget that we discussed a few weeks after that presented to the board, and when we decided to set the date. So there haven't been any significant changes other than what the board has authorized, such as the Linwood improvement.
So that means John can get the headline out there, excuse me, Mike. This is the year of the taxpayer?
I believe that's what we have discussed.
Yes, very good. Okay, so we will table this. You want to table it all? You know, there's two parts.
Well, they do require separate votes, so you could table the entire meeting, this portion of the meeting, or you could table just the first item and then go on and approve the special other funds, if you'd like to.
You want to do a motion to approve? I got a couple things on it, but I'm not going to die over those.
Okay. Is there any advantage of proving part of this, or should we just table it and do it all at once? I mean, I know they require separate motions.
I don't believe there's any advantage or disadvantage to handle it either way.
Okay.
It just allows me to talk again, so I'll do a motion to approve the Leavenworth County Special Other Funds section of the Leavenworth County budget for the year 2019.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
No.
How you vote?
Aye.
Aye. You know what I think is great, and maybe nobody cares what I think is great, but that's part of life. There's no real politics at anything at the county level since 2 people have been gone, and I won't mention those 2 people. There's no politics. There's no Republican that sits up here or Democrat that sits up here and does Republican things or Democratic things. Now, there might be a Democrat that would have okayed the, what do you call it, for the Northeast Mental Health, the funds, the 2 mills, I don't know, or the schools. But I thought it was interesting. I was watching the city meeting and I thought it was interesting that the city engineer said Leavenworth County gave a verbal discussion confirming the $45 per ton for tipping fees. No written response was received. Was there some reason we didn't respond to them in writing of why we were going to? Now, the city manager did finally explain why we were going and removing the amount of money that all the taxpayers were paying for the city to get cheaper.
I believe the city was asking for a bid.
Yeah, the city sent out solicitation for sealed bids. That is not legal for an entity like ourselves to provide a sealed bid, because any discussion that we had would have to be an open session.
Yeah.
We couldn't have
Okay.
done it in a sealed bid format.
But
So they knew our rate.
Yeah, it would have been nice to have that written in here, though, that legally we can't do that because of this, rather than, because Atchison County, they said no response, but Waste Management in Hams did. But I thought it was interesting. The city manager did come out and explain that it was to balance out the budget out there so we didn't have to tax all the taxpayers. So I thought that was good. That's from David. I think this is interesting. Does anybody know Elizabeth Warren? I got a letter. She's wanting money. I couldn't figure that one out, but that's all right. Got a nice note from Leavenworth Historical. And there was one other thing that I thought was very interesting. Does anybody keep track of any news outside of our community?
Yes, sir.
Good. Orlando, Florida. Orlando, Florida now gives, it's sort of like a participation award. You know, all kids get a participation award. I don't remember any of that. Your team either had to win or you didn't get a participation. But they are now giving to all the citizens of Orlando, Florida, a tag for their recyclables. If you've done a good job, you get a good recyclable. If you have done just an average job, you just get an average. And it's on your recyclable card. So we now have to give adults how good a job you're doing. I remember when the skipper said, "You don't wear your ribbons." And I said, "No, sir, I only need my rank and I need my wings." And he said, "Well, let me think about that." I said, I do not need to be congratulated and thanked for being in the Far East or doing this or doing that. It's a very important thing how we have changed our life that everybody's got to get an award.
So we're not going to get an award for recycling because we pulled the bins from Tongi?
Well, unless you want to.
I guess I'll have to live with the sad face, won't I?
Yeah. Okay. The question I brought up to David, you know what I like is original thinkers. Not somebody that flows with the gremlins. Somebody's always thinking outside. We had said that we were going to contact Mr. Bigsby on the records. Supposedly everything else has been gotten back, if there was something else. I went into the city clerk, or the county clerk, and I said, I would like a copy of everybody's personal record Now, I went into the clerk because she runs the department. And you know what she told me? Well, Louis, you know you can't ask for that because I can't give it to you. And I said, I knew that, but I wanted to ask that question. I want to know who gave Mr. Bigsby the access to the records. What is there about that I do not understand? Do we not have to sign out stuff? When I went to go fly on a patrol in the Far East, I had to go check out a weapon.
I think that question did come up, and we did address it. It was probably before you were on the board.
Yeah.
The commission, the previous commission, had, and the HR director were under the impression that any individual commissioner could go down and ask for personnel records. We have since clarified that is not the case. I think we had that discussion in this room, actually, that it takes a motion of the board for one of them to have access to it, and we would have it in an executive session for review.
I believe you'd sent emails out that this problem is corrected.
Yes, and we have addressed that, and I think, as a matter of fact, I think shortly after that, you went down and asked for your personnel records, and they told you they wouldn't give them to you. And you would have to come up and speak to me about it.
But it's amazing that somebody wouldn't have a feeling when somebody walks in and wants all the personal records. Is that a lack of something of great detail? And I don't want to get too personal about it, but my God.
No, it's a big deal.
It is a big deal. It's worse than the deal of any elected department head giving pay raises. I mean, this affects, how many people we got? 400 some people,
400.
No,
Theoretically?
it affects more than that.
Well,
You have
I'm
family
talking-
insurance,
Oh, I
your
know
kids'
that.
social security number.
Oh, yeah, I know that. But I'm just talking about, this is a chain that's 10 miles long. We could just keep adding to it. So the commissions back then thought, it's all right. We'll just not be worried about that. Man, I'll tell you, we're electing some people that I don't understand, and it isn't going to get any better. So.
That goes back to when you were on the commission before. The ability to go do that was available then. You guys just didn't do it.
No, there's no reason to do it.
Now everybody is saying, okay, this happened. Now we're going to shut the gate because a horse ran out of it.
Oh, yeah.
But the reality of it is, you three commissioners don't have the need to know. That's why they shouldn't have ever gave it to anybody.
That's true.
That's right.
And a person
That's right.
the only one that should have access to that.
That's right.
You coming down there, you're her boss, and she has to understand that. But there's rules she has to follow that, without a need to know, there was no reason to give it out.
That's
All right. But what we're trying to do, Glenn, is get the horse back in.
Oh, I know.
All right.
But I don't know. I think I've listened to the discussion on this, and if the man says he don't have it, I don't know what the news has said. If they say they don't have it, well, it went somewhere. We get that. But if he walked in here tomorrow and handed it right to you, what do you have? What do you get?
Probably a copy.
You don't. That's my point. You don't know if there was copies made or not. So getting it back doesn't really resolve anything. What you have done, the actions you've taken to prevent it from happening again, I don't know what else you can do.
I'm going to blame the media. I mean, I had the media come in there and get in my face, Channel 41. So I'm going to blame the media for not making a bigger story out of it. Local media. So John, it's your fault, even though I like you, okay? Anything on your part there, Douglas? We can adjourn this one and get ready for the...
You do still need to table, you need to vote on to table this to the next.
Yes, that's true.
I'll make
You do
a
need to vote,
motion
make
to,
motion and vote.
Table the rest of the budget to on the 20th.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, since public notice was provided stating both the time, date, and place, I would suggest your motion state the time that you would reconvene for the purpose of hearing the budget on the 21st.
Is it the 21st?
Yes, 7 days from today.
When does it have to be in? Of September, isn't it?
No, August. We're on the,
What's the date? Well, I don't care if we're late. I really don't care if we're late.
The clerk has addressed that. Next Tuesday, we need to have it.
Yeah. So it doesn't bother me, you know, they got all their little simple rules and they changed the financial rules, so we have to pay our taxes early so they can have money to do their budget. You know, it's a game. And they got the big rules. People going to be on the school board and serve as a county commission, and I thought that was a big deal, but I was told by a senator, he said, that's not a big deal. How many people do you think that are up here that are state legislators in the House and the Senate that are on school boards? Now, they're setting the budget for the schools. I think that's conflict of interest, but that's beside the point. What I think doesn't matter in life. So go ahead and do your motion.
thinking about the conflict of interest there. I make a motion that we table the remainder of the 2019 Leavenworth County budget to August 21st at 9:15.
Okay, and we'll cut it what we're doing at 9:15 and finish the budget. It'll just take a vote. So
That motion will be appropriate.
I'll second that. Any discussion?
No, sir.
How do you vote?
Aye.
I need to think on this.
All right.
Aye.
Anything else?
And I don't think we need Clyde. Do we need Clyde?
Yeah. Right.
Oh.
Yeah, we'll need him.
Yeah. No.
Attended the LCDC meeting last week, City of Leavenworth.
Okay.
And I also attended the Leavenworth County Beef Improvement Association fundraiser dinner. They hold scholarships. They raise money for scholarships.
Right.
In the last 10 years, they've given $125,000, over $125,000 for scholarships.
Very
So
good.
it's a good organization. We're lucky to have that in our county.
Even though I blame the Times, they did have a nice picture of a Tice lady who's been in Angus for years. Yeah.
This was held down at Tonganoxie at Patrick's farm. Don and Catherine Patrick would be the old Reichman farm. Good turnout.
Very good. So, do we need a motion to adjourn this?
Adjourn your regular session.
Yep.
We'll make a motion, we adjourn the regular commission meeting and stand by for the election.
Second that. How do you vote?
Aye.
What do you think about this?
All right. You
Aye.
got fun. You can think. She said a half hour.
Yep. I'll entertain a motion to reconvene as
So move.
So moved.
Second.
How do you vote?
Aye.
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 We went downstairs, opened up our 99 qualified provisionals. Our two representatives watched the process. We then ran them through our DS200 scanner and produced a report, which they also have a copy of. So I would like the Board of Canvassers to certify the 2018 August 7th primary election for Leavenworth County. We had a total of 11,677 votes that were counted. We had a 27% turnout and would be official in Leavenworth County then.
Okay. Did you get all that written down?
I did.
I'm listening.
I'll make a motion to accept the August 7th, 2018 election as presented by the county election officer.
Okay. Clyde, I'm gonna give you your last second.
Second.
Any discussion?
No, sir.
Anybody has any questions, I can go over that.
Well, Clyde's looking it over, so, and he has no more dumb questions. He will never use that again, Clyde.
I have no more dumb questions.
That's right. None of them are dumb.
You should sign it. You're the chairman.
Well, I don't care.
Especially since my pen doesn't work.
Okay, for the board, August. How many here have to be signed? Just that top sheet?
Just the top one, please.
Did the results of that come out as you had them?
I can, there's a particular race that you're looking at.
Yeah, it'd be nice to know. That's the only, we haven't voted on this yet, have we?
No.
No.
Yeah.
You have not formally voted to certify the election.
How you vote?
Aye.
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 And how did the particular race come out? Just for curiosity, did anybody, one way or the other, pick up votes?
Yes, let Doug sign this.
Well, Clyde doesn't get to sign that?
Clyde signed it, he initialed it, didn't
No.
he?
No. His
I will.
Oh,
his,
his pen did.
his Impitsu
I
wouldn't.
took care of it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Debbie.
Yeah, God.
Let's let Clyde sign it.
There you go. He's the only one that had any intelligent questions. Yeah.
Thank you, Clyde.
Thank you.
All right, I'm assuming that we are going to review the governor's race
Yes.
for the Republican candidate and in Leavenworth County. In the provisionals,
You can't just say that one picked up 10 and another one picked up.
I can name
Yeah.
a name, it doesn't matter.
No, I'm
Okay.
going to say shorten it. You don't have to go through each category.
I won't.
Yeah.
Governor Collier picked up 25 provisional votes in Leavenworth County.
Okay,
Secretary Kobach picked up 34.
34.
Governor Collier in Leavenworth County received 2,591 votes.
Okay,
Secretary Kobach received 3,881 votes in Leavenworth County.
okay, very good. So I hope they're all happy and very good.
Janet, when will all the counties statewide turn their results in?
Thursday is, there will still be some canvasses going on Thursday morning. I know Douglas County has theirs Thursday morning. I know there's a couple others also that have theirs Thursday morning. Then those will be turned into the Secretary of State's office, and he has until, I do believe, September 1st to certify that election. I doubt that he, I don't know what his time frame is once, if he'll release some additional unofficial votes after each of the counties have had their primaries. I believe, but I could be mistaken, that Friday may be the deadline for requesting a recount, but I'm not sure since some of the counties are having their canvass on Thursday. I can't verify that.
So the request for a recount could come in before all votes are counted?
No, I think it's after all the votes are counted, but I think it's probably before the certification of the Secretary of State.
Okay. Well, I'll entertain a motion to unconvene.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn the Board of Canvassers.
Okay,
Second.
been moved and seconded. Have you drawn up Mr. Graber's check? No?
Don't worry about that.
It's been moved and seconded. How you vote?
Aye.
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 I think we owe Clyde Graber thanks for coming
Yes,
today.
we do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Clyde.
Thank you, sir.
Back again.
Okay.
And